Life, as we know it, is a series of constant transitions. From childhood to adolescence, adulthood to middle age, and eventually the golden years, each phase comes with its own set of challenges and rewards. But as we grow older, particularly after the age of 70, many of us begin to see the world from a different perspective. We start asking deeper questions, reassessing our priorities, and seeking a sense of purpose that might have once seemed elusive. As I reflect on my own journey, I realize how essential it has been to let go of certain habits, beliefs, and expectations that once held me back. Through this process, I've discovered the power of living intentionally. By embracing change, focusing on meaningful connections, and nurturing both my body and mind. In this post, I'll share the profound lessons I've learned about letting go of old habits, how to reshape your life, and how letting go can ultimately lead to a life filled with purpose, joy, and authenticity. Letting go of work as a means of staying busy. In my younger years, there was an unspoken belief that the more you worked, the more valuable you became. This belief was deeply ingrained in our culture, where success and self-worth were often measured by how busy we were. I spent years chasing the ever-elusive idea of success, climbing the corporate ladder and juggling multiple responsibilities. My days were a blur of meetings, emails, and tasks, with little room for anything outside the boundaries of my work. At the time, I didn't know how to slow down or embrace moments of stillness. The idea of being unproductive felt like a moral failing. Looking back, I realize how much I missed out on during those years of relentless activity. I was so consumed by the pursuit of achievement that I didn't stop to enjoy the small, beautiful moments of life. Relationships took a back seat, hobbies were neglected, and self-care seemed like a luxury I could never afford. The constant busyness left me physically drained and emotionally depleted. I thought that by being constantly occupied, I was somehow proving my worth. But in reality, I was only losing touch with the things that truly mattered. Shifting my perspective. However, as I entered my 70s, something began to shift within me. I realized that the pace of life had begun to take its toll on my well-being, and I needed to make a change. The world around me felt like it was moving faster than I could keep up with. So I asked myself, is this all there is? The answer was a resounding no. I no longer wanted to work just to stay busy. I wanted to approach life with intention, focusing on what truly added meaning to my existence. This was the turning point. I began to prioritize quality over quantity. Instead of trying to fill my days with endless tasks, I started asking myself a simple but powerful question before taking on any new commitments. Does this align with my values? Will it add meaning to my life? If the answer was no, I allowed myself the grace to say no too. This was a liberating moment, one that opened the door to a more peaceful and fulfilling life. Now I spend my time on activities that bring me joy and fulfillment. Whether it's spending quality time with loved ones, rediscovering old hobbies, or simply taking time to rest and recharge, I have learned to savor life in a way that I never did before. It's not about being busy, it's about being intentional with how I spend my time. I've discovered that real success isn't measured by how busy I am, but by the depth of the life I'm living. Quitting. Mindless spending, finding joy in simplicity. For much of my life, I was swept up in the consumerist culture that told me more is better. I believed that material possessions could bring happiness, fulfillment, and security. Like many others, I fell into the trap of mindless spending, buying things I didn't need in the hope that they would fill a void in my life. I purchased the latest gadgets, filled my closet with clothes that went unworn, and accumulated trinkets that took up space but added little value to my life. At the time, the rush of buying something new brought a fleeting sense of excitement. But the joy was always short-lived, and I found myself surrounded by stuff that I didn't truly need or appreciate. Instead of feeling fulfilled, I felt burdened by the clutter and the realization that these possessions had failed to bring lasting happiness. It wasn't until later in life that I understood this truth. True happiness cannot be bought. Material things might provide temporary pleasure, but they don't offer the lasting contentment we all crave. Embracing mindful spending. As I grew older, I began to reevaluate my relationship with money and possessions. I adopted a new approach to spending, one rooted in mindfulness and intentionality. Instead of buying things just because they were available or because I felt pressured by advertising, I began to ask myself, does this truly add value to my life? If the answer was no, I chose not to buy it. This shift in perspective has been life-changing. I've learned to find joy in the simple things, experiences, relationships, and moments that enrich my life in ways that material possessions never could. Instead of chasing after the latest trends, I now focus on what truly matters. For example, I've found that traveling to new places, learning new skills, or sharing meaningful conversations with friends and family have brought me far more joy than any item I could buy. This intentional approach to spending has not only helped me save money, but has also brought a sense of peace and contentment. I've realized that the things we often think will make us happy, gadgets, clothes, and trinkets, are not the source of true joy. True happiness lies in appreciating what we already have and finding value in the moments and experiences that make life rich and meaningful. The liberation of saying no. For so much of my life, I lived with the notion that saying yes to everything would make me a better person, more liked, more needed, more indispensable. I filled my schedule with obligations, even when they didn't align with my values or aspirations. Every social gathering, every volunteer opportunity, every request from friends and family felt like something I had to do, lest I disappoint someone. But the truth was, I wasn't helping myself or anyone else by spreading myself so thin. When I turned 70, I had an epiphany. I realized that my time, energy, and emotional well-being were precious resources that I couldn't afford to waste. For the first time in my life, I started saying no. At first, it felt uncomfortable. Guilt crept in, and I feared that people would think I was being selfish. But as I practiced setting boundaries, I felt a tremendous sense of relief. Saying no didn't make me a bad person. It made me a person who valued herself enough to protect her peace. By saying no, I was creating space for what truly mattered, activities and relationships that nourished my soul. I no longer felt overwhelmed by the constant rush of commitments. Instead, I became more intentional about how I spent my time. This wasn't just about avoiding exhaustion. It was about prioritizing joy, growth, and fulfillment. The freedom I gained from this practice was incredible. I felt like a weight had been lifted from my shoulders. And as I began to say no to the things that drained me, I found myself saying yes to the things that truly inspired me. The people I interacted with became more aligned with my values, and I began to cultivate relationships that felt uplifting rather than burdensome. Releasing toxic relationships. When I reflect on my journey, one of the most significant acts of self-love I made was letting go of relationships that no longer served me. Relationships are meant to bring joy, support, and companionship. But over the years, I found myself clinging to connections that brought nothing but negativity and emotional exhaustion. I stayed in friendships and even familial relationships where my worth was not respected, where I was constantly giving but never receiving. It wasn't until I turned 70 that I understood the importance of clearing these emotional clutter and making space for healthier, more positive connections. There was a moment of clarity, a deep realization that life is short, and I didn't have time to continue investing in relationships that left me feeling depleted. Letting go of these toxic bonds wasn't easy. It required me to confront my fears, my guilt, and the long-standing beliefs I had about loyalty and obligation. But with each relationship I released, I felt lighter, freer, and more at peace. I wasn't cutting people out with anger or resentment. Instead, I was choosing to invest in relationships that were reciprocal, nurturing, and mutually respectful. I found that the more I surrounded myself with people who uplifted me, the more I was able to step into my own power and embrace life with a renewed sense of purpose. Prioritizing health. The true wealth. For many years, I neglected my health. Like so many, I was constantly caught up in the demands of work, family, and social obligations, convincing myself that there was no time to focus on my physical well-being. Exercise, nutrition, and sleep became afterthoughts, something I'd get to later. But as I reached my 70th year, I realized the profound truth: without health, nothing else matters. The first signs of this truth came as small aches and pains, a decline in energy, and a sense of weariness that no amount of coffee or late nights could cure. I found myself struggling to keep up with the things I loved: walking in nature, playing with my grandchildren, even simply enjoying a good book. And that's when it hit me. I had to put my health first if I wanted to continue enjoying life. I started with small changes: walking every morning, choosing whole foods over processed ones, and taking time each day to meditate and breathe deeply. Slowly, I noticed improvements. I had more energy, my mind felt clearer, and I began to feel a sense of joy in my body again. It wasn't about chasing perfection. It was about making choices that honored my well-being. What surprised me most was that by focusing on my health, every other area of my life improved. I became more patient, more present, and more able to tackle challenges with a clear mind. Prioritizing my health wasn't just a physical act. It was an act of love and respect for myself. Confronting procrastination and pursuing personal goals. For most of my life, I told myself there would always be more time. There was always a reason to delay pursuing my dreams: work, family, obligations. I kept putting things off, waiting for the right time, that mythical moment when everything would align. But when I reached 70, I had a wake-up call. Time was slipping by, and I couldn't afford to wait any longer. If I didn't start pursuing my dreams now, I might never have the chance to. I began with the things I had always put off: learning a new language, traveling to places I had always dreamed of visiting, and picking up the creative hobbies I had neglected for years. It wasn't about achieving perfection or checking items off a bucket list. It was about living life with intention, seizing the moments that mattered. The sense of fulfillment I gained from these small but meaningful steps was overwhelming. I no longer felt like I was simply going through the motions of life. I felt alive, passionate, and driven by purpose. The dreams I had tucked away for years were no longer deferred. They were unfolding before me, and I was stepping into them with full confidence. Embracing change, a path to growth. Perhaps one of the most powerful shifts I've made in my life has been learning to embrace change rather than fearing it. In my younger years, I resisted change with all my might. I clung to familiarity, even when it wasn't serving me. The thought of stepping into the unknown terrified me. But I have come to understand that change is not an enemy. It is a doorway to growth. Change is an inevitable part of life, and rather than resisting it, I have learned to welcome it with open arms. Whether it's a change in career, in relationships, or in lifestyle, I now see each change as an opportunity for renewal. I've learned that stepping into the unknown can be the most freeing and enriching experience of all. Now, as I look back on my journey, I realize that the person I am today is a result of embracing change, letting go of what no longer serves me, and prioritizing my own well-being. I have learned that self-care is not selfish, that saying no is empowering, that health is wealth, and that time is precious. Through these lessons, I have rediscovered joy, peace, and purpose. If you're reading this, I encourage you to reflect on your own life. Are you putting yourself first? Are you embracing change? Are you taking care of your health, nurturing your relationships, and pursuing your dreams? Life is short, and it's never too late to start. Change. From fear to curiosity. As I began to see change in a new light, it felt like lifting a veil from my eyes. No longer did I see the unknown as a looming threat. Instead, it became an open door, a chance to explore what lay beyond the familiar. I started asking myself, what could this change bring? What new experiences or people might I encounter? How might it shape me in ways I can't yet imagine? I realized that much of my earlier fear stemmed from a desire for control. Change doesn't ask for permission to happen. It just does. It reshapes us, sometimes gently, sometimes forcefully. But I began to welcome it, with curiosity, even excitement. The unknown became a canvas for new possibilities. In that shift of perspective, I found freedom. The fear I once had was replaced with a sense of adventure. I had moved from seeing change as something I had to survive, to something that could enrich my life. The most profound change in this journey was how it transformed my sense of self. I began to tap into strengths I had never known existed. I found new passions, new interests, and new ways of being that I had been too afraid to explore before. Each new change, each unexpected turn in the road, revealed something previously hidden within me. A courage, a talent, a resilience I hadn't realized I was capable of. Sleep as an act of self-love. Once I came to understand the profound impact sleep has on our overall health, I made a conscious decision to prioritize it. I began to establish a bedtime routine that honored my need for rest. No longer did I let the distractions of the world, whether work, social media, or endless to-do lists, take precedence. I began setting aside time each evening to unwind, creating a calming atmosphere conducive to sleep. A warm bath, a quiet moment with a book, or simply lying in silence without the interference of technology became essential parts of my evening ritual. These small adjustments made a world of difference. I started to wake up feeling truly rested, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally as well. My energy levels were more stable, my mood brighter, and my mind clearer. I felt more in tune with life, more able to meet each day with clarity and purpose. If I could pass along any advice to those still undervaluing sleep, it would be this. Sleep is not a luxury. It is the cornerstone of health. The rest we get at night impacts everything: our mood, our cognition, our physical health, and our ability to enjoy life. A good night's sleep is not just about avoiding fatigue. It is about nurturing ourselves, giving our bodies and minds the space they need to heal and regenerate. Letting go of comparisons, embracing your unique path. One of the most insidious traps I fell into, especially when I was younger, was comparing myself to others. It started innocently enough, admiring someone's success, their appearance, or their lifestyle. But over time, these comparisons began to creep into my mind more frequently, and they became a source of constant self-doubt. I measured my worth by someone else's yardstick, and I often felt I fell short. I believed that if I could just achieve what they had achieved, look the way they looked, possess what they possessed, then I would be complete. I would be happy. But what I didn't realize then was that the pursuit of someone else's life, someone else's version of success, was robbing me of my own joy. The more I compared, the more disconnected I became from my own path. It wasn't until I reached my 70s that I experienced a profound shift in perspective. I finally understood that life is not a race or a competition. Each of us is on our own unique journey, shaped by our personal experiences, our challenges, and our triumphs. There is no universal measure of success because our paths are meant to be different. Comparing myself to others was not only futile, but it was also a disservice to myself. The greatest lesson I learned was that there is beauty in our individuality. Our lives are not meant to be mirror images of someone else's. They are meant to be reflections of who we are, in all our complexity and richness. When I stopped comparing myself to others, I began to find peace. I learned to appreciate the life I had created, the lessons I had learned, and the people I had loved. The freedom of letting go. Now, more than ever, I feel a sense of freedom that I had never experienced before. I have let go of the need to live up to someone else's standards, and I have embraced my own. Aging has taught me that it is not about achieving more, doing more, or having more. It is about living authentically, embracing what makes me unique, and cherishing the journey I am on. So, I encourage you to reflect on your own life. How often do you compare yourself to others? What would happen if you stopped? What if you could let go of the need to measure up and instead focused on nurturing your own path? What if you could find joy in your journey, valuing your accomplishments, however big or small, and celebrating the person you are becoming? The beauty of life is in the freedom to be ourselves, to let go of what no longer serves us, and to embrace the fullness of who we are. With each passing year, I feel more and more at peace with the person I've become and the life I've created. Change has been my companion on this journey, and I'm grateful for it. I am learning to release the past, embrace the present, and trust that the future holds more wonder than I could ever have imagined. Living with purpose. A journey of growth and transformation. When we think of a meaningful life, we often imagine one filled with success, accolades, and recognition. But what if the true measure of success lies not in external achievements, but in the depth of our relationships, the way we love and care for others, and how we navigate the highs and lows of our personal journeys? After all, life is not a competition. It's an individual and collective journey that offers each of us unique opportunities for growth, connection, and fulfillment. In reflecting on my own life, I've realized that the most meaningful legacy we can leave behind is not one defined by titles or wealth, but by the way we choose to approach each day, no matter what it may bring. When we live with purpose and embrace the beauty of life's imperfection, we teach others that it's okay to fail, to falter, and to rise again. Life, in all its complexity, is full of challenges, and it's how we face those challenges that truly defines us. If we can approach each moment with openness and acceptance, we create a ripple effect that inspires others to do the same. Through our example, we show others that life doesn't need to be perfect to be beautiful. Perfection is an illusion. It's the flaws, the mistakes, the imperfections that give life its depth and texture. When we let go of the need for perfection and embrace life as it is, we allow others to do the same. Our imperfections become a powerful tool for growth and connection, and in doing so, we build a legacy based on authenticity, resilience, and love. Through this, we can show that it's never too late to start fresh and make a change. No matter our age or stage of life, we can always choose to shift our mindset, to grow, and to evolve. The courage to let go, embracing freedom and peace. Perhaps one of the most profound acts of courage we can take is the courage to let go. Letting go is an act of bravery because it requires us to release what no longer serves us, whether it's old fears, outdated beliefs, or relationships that drain us. But in letting go, we create space for something new, something more aligned with who we are now and who we want to become. Letting go isn't always easy. It requires us to face our fears, to confront the things that hold us back, and to trust that there is something greater waiting for us on the other side. But it is through this act of release that we find freedom. We free ourselves from the weight of past regrets, from the expectations of others, and from the limitations we've placed on ourselves. Letting go gives us the space to grow, to evolve, and to live more fully. As we let go of what no longer serves us, we create a life that is more peaceful, more joyful, and more aligned with our true selves. This process of release is ongoing. It's a continual process of shedding what's no longer needed and making room for new experiences, new relationships, and new opportunities. And in this process, we find the courage to step into the next chapter of our lives with open hearts and open minds, ready to embrace whatever comes next.